Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Axon Bulletin. It's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, gentlemen, after another Celtic victory up in Dingwall. A good 3-1 victory, still at the top of the table, 2 games in. Patrick, compared to last year, it's just so nice at this point in time to have a settled squad, know the players inside out, know that they know the manager's system, and the results are happening for us very early on.
Yep, and fully deserved results as well. Not only that, it doesn't feel, absolutely world-ending if we don't win the game. You've got 4 Champions League qualifiers last season. Well, European qualifiers, we only had 1 round, but it doesn't feel like an absolute disaster if we lose a game. There's 38 games to the season. We've played 2 of them, 36 to go, so still plenty of time. Still getting into the swing of things, if we're being honest. I think the players would say that as well. But it's just enjoyable so far because the 2 performances have been brilliant. We've probably not scored as much as what we should have. It was a bit of a scare on Saturday. We left it quite late, but
if you get watching it and your stream never cut out,
aye, oh god, I know. That was murder. But delighted for big yens and just on to the next game really.
Yeah, it is on to the next game. Lawrence, I think everything that Patrick said, that I would share those sentiments. I thought Celtic were very dominant, much like the Aberdeen game, especially in the first half. We created a lot of chances. Maybe we were a tad wasteful in front of goal, but you can just tell, I think, as Patrick says, even after what Ange said last week about, we're in and out of the season, there's nothing about rhythm. You can just see that this Celtic team's just getting up to kind of speed, probably with competitive football. But listen, we're getting the points, we're getting the goals, and we've put in 2 really good performances, I think.
Yeah, but it's Kyogo and Giakoumakis we need to get up to speed, don't we? We want them to get back to last season's form. So, scoring for 84 minutes to go back ahead, I don't know if that's leaving it late. Certainly we've left it later at Dingwall, haven't we?
Absolutely.
There's 90 minutes every game. And yeah, the squad's settled. We know what we've got. The players just seem so much more in control than previous seasons, or in terms of recruitment, the style that we're playing. So it's going to be an exciting season, I think. The team's definitely got a few levels that can get through. I don't know if we'll bring in any more players unless we see a Yeti or Julian go. And I think anyone that comes in is probably going to come in on loan, aren't they? We've spent a bit of money. I'm not too sure that Celtic will be wanting to pay out transfer fees, maybe loan fees with options to buy.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one with the transfer market. There has been a wee link within literally the last half hour. Gary Oliver's came in the comments to say all quiet in the transfer front. It isn't all quiet in the transfer front because in the last half hour or so, Celtic have been linked with a player from Barcelona, Alec Calado, supposedly going by reports in Spain that Celtic have made an offer to take the player on loan. He is an attacking midfielder / winger, so probably somebody that would suit the system, and it is a loan deal. So an interesting one to keep your eye on. Coming from the reports in Spain, just reading this in front of me, Olympiacos, Celtic and 2 La Liga teams have been the first to move for the player. He's been in the youth squad at Barcelona, and he's attracting a lot of suitors. So an interesting one to keep your eye on. Probably a bit more exciting than Ross Barkley in that one, Patrick. But just back to Saturday, because we can come back to Calado very shortly. The first goal, the build-up to it's absolutely cracking. I think it was the epitome of a lot of good play under Ange Postecoglou from what we've watched. You see Greg Taylor, really, he's further forward than, we'd probably expect him to have been at points last season. He's up there, he rides the challenge. First of all, probably come to that, it's a horrific challenge in the game. I think a lot of people were saying after the game they were disappointed with Ross County's approach to the game because at times he, can play a bit of football. They like to get the ball on the deck, but definitely a different approach from Malcolm Mackay when he's playing Celtic.
Yeah, I definitely think that could have been a red. He's sort of flown into the challenge. It's a bit of a ping ball situation. Ball's going everywhere. He's flown in, studs up, and he could have done Taylor a really nasty injury. But luckily, Jota sort of gets the break of the ball. We 1-2 McGregor, and then sort of lays it up in a plate for Kyogo, and it's a brilliant goal. Very tightly worked, quickly worked, and O'Reilly actually makes a good run to the front post so that Kyle goes free sort of basically in the penalty spot, and he just sort of slots it in near post. It's a fantastic goal, and you think we're just going to go on from there, but unfortunately we get the equaliser comes 10 minutes later for that corner. But we're playing well enough that the BBC describe it as rescued, but we sort of got our just rewards for the performance, in my opinion. End up going on to win 3-1.
Yeah, I thought we thoroughly deserved to win the game. Lord, it's just back to that challenge. Kevin Graham's came in here to say it's a sending off challenge. I totally agree with him. I think, all the hyperbole that's going around about the Jens celebration after the goal and should have been off the park and whatnot, I think this is the one that should probably be discussed. He's high. There's no real attempt to play the ball, and Greg Taylor, I think, is a lucky boy.
Yeah, listen, he's high. He's out of control. This textbook sending off. What the referee's thinking, who knows? He seems to allow a lot of these types of challenges to go. There's no reason he couldn't have called it back and booked him. He's definitely seen the challenge. And he's decided it's not worth any action. I think it's time, refs were made to come out and kind of explain their decisions and stuff like this. You're looking at, if Taylor doesn't get out of the way, he could easily have a broken leg, and be missing a large part of the season. What's the ref thinking when he sees that challenge? Why is it not a sending off?
Yeah, and at that point in time, Celtic, you probably wouldn't say he's in too much of an advanced position to probably go on and score the goal, which Patrick comes from absolutely lovely free from Jota. It was the first of 3 assists in the day. Absolutely, first class performance from him. After last week, he scored that wonder goal. The manager's had a wee bit of a bite at him, and listen, he's just went on and he scored that. He's got 3 absolutely fantastic assists and probably deserved a goal in the day, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Definitely the best player on the day, I think. And he does really well, actually, to get to that ball from McGregor. I didn't think he was going to get there. But he does really well and then cuts it back to Kyogo. 3 brilliant setups. The third one, I think you have to give more credit to Abada because he's sort of on the turn and he scores from outside the box. But, the setup for the first 2 are definitely all Jota. And he's had a great start to the season. He sort of his form dipped a little bit in New Year last season, and then it sort of picked up in April, May again, and he was really, really important for us. And he looks as if he's going to be really, really important for us at the early part of this season because I think he's probably our best player at the moment, and he's a very exciting player to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Lawrence, I know you maybe had your reservations a wee bit around the price tag and whatnot, but he's proven that price tag, and at this point in time, if he continues this form up, 6 million is going to be an absolute steal. He was world class in Saturday, Jota.
Yeah, great performance on Saturday. How's he going to handle the plastic pitch? This will be his first time on one, won't it, for us?
I think,
Chile, is it?
Did he play at Alaba? I don't know. I'm not too sure. Maybe somebody can look at that one, but yeah, I think it will be his first time in the plastic, certainly in the league anyway.
Yeah, hopefully he can produce the same kind of
Oh,
performance.
that's rubbish.
Yeah.
Livingston, he's played at Livingston before. Oh, no. He's played in plastic before.
Played at Livy. Well, hopefully he can continue his form because, as you say, it's 3 assists, 1 goal, or 2 games in. It's frightening. Some people don't think he's the best player, in the league. You've just got to look
Some
at the form.
people being one person, Lawrence. You don't need to say his name, but we all know who you're talking about. But we won't even go there. But I think at this point in time, he has 3 assists and a goal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just outstanding. And all it's phenomenal for us just now is Leigh Abada. What numbers he's got.
Well,
it's got to be terrifying to any defence. After Maeda's been running them ragged, looked as if he'd taken a kick that put him out. We're 2 games in. We're missing Rio and now Maeda through fairly hefty challenges. At some point the refs need to go, wait a minute here. We're only 2 games in. I think the club maybe needs to call this out and say look, we're 2 games in, we're missing 2 players through late challenges on them. It's not good. I mean, the one in Rio, the knee into the back, how that's not a sending off. No attempt to play the ball, just jumps up, knees him on the back. So hopefully the rest get a wee bit better. I know we've got VAR. Suppose they'll come to the rescue halfway through the season. But, geez, if we keep losing players at this rate, and I think it's time that the club called out, because that tackle on Taylor's just, it is a leg breaker, isn't it? Taylor doesn't.
It is a leg breaker. Yeah, absolutely agree. It's a leg breaker. Just on that kind of winger conundrum, probably we could call it now, Patrick. You've got Abada coming in. You scored that absolute cracker of a goal. I'll not come to it yet. Alan Robertson's coming in here to say he thinks that he's very underrated. His numbers are astonishing for a boy of his age. Again, I don't like saying that because it's a bit weird to me and you, Patrick, that this Celtic player's younger than us now. It's not very nice. There's been a kind of, with the whole COVID thing, a kind of switch over. You've got Celtic players coming through now playing in the first team that are younger than you and I. But he's came into the team. He's a big impact player. And again, on this point that we spoke about last week, everybody's saying that it's clear as day Jota is far better in the left. And listen, that is where all the assists come from. So as our tagline says, is it Abada and Jota possibly just for the visit to Killie to see how it goes?
I mean, there's no harm in it, I suppose. I think he's definitely better in the left. It's his natural position. I'm a big fan of playing players in their natural position after having to deal with Callum McGregor at left back several times in the space of 8 months. I don't think the team's any weaker if you go for Jota and Abada. That's the sort of team that we went with first half of last season, and then you bring in Maeda and it's you sort of switch it up quite a lot. We've got the injuries and Johnson and Owen Moffat come in, but it's a good problem to have. Maeda, Jota and Abada, you don't really know who to play because all three are in such good form. Maeda brings something totally different. The speed on him, the pressing, the early crosses and stuff. He was another one who was phenomenal towards the end of last season. But I think Abada's he's been really good the last couple of games when he's only came on as a substitute, and I think it would be totally fair to start him. I'm always a bit concerned about a plastic pitch. As you two were saying, we've already got 2 injuries. It could have been a really nasty third if that challenge connects with Taylor's leg. And Killie aren't the nicest team to play against, so I'd be worried in that regard. But if we can get an early 2-goal lead or something and sort of take all these valuable players off, I could certainly go with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could go with that. David Ferguson's come in here in the comments to ask, will maybe be fit for the weekend? Obviously subbed off at half time on Saturday. From Ange's comments after the game, he said it didn't look like too much a concern, but if there probably is any doubt in there, I would imagine Ange to go with Abada and Jota, 2 players that have played with each other many a time, know each other very well, and there's no absolutely Patrick. I don't think it makes the team any weaker, and I think you can trust Abada to come in, do the job as he did off the bench on Saturday. But it's a great conundrum for Ange to be in. Remember last season at one point we were playing Jura in the right wing, so listen, it's a good conundrum to be in. Just after that, we've conceded the goal. Big Yates maybe gets caught a wee bit poor under Iacovitti, but listen, it's his first game. He's not played a lot of football over the course, Lawrence, and he makes a mention of it, and it's an absolutely cracking towering header, man. The corner, I like that went with the short corner. Jota's ball in's delightful, and he rises up like a salmon in there. It's a great header.
Yeah, it looks as if he's going to be a threat in the opposition box. I think first half, he lost his man and they got a header just before half time as well. So I think maybe he's just a wee bit rusty at the moment. He let the boy get the run off him, so he didn't do too well for their goal. But he taken his goal. Great, isn't it? It's got to boost his confidence. A fairly impressive debut. I think it's his shot now, isn't it? To lose.
This is the big debate we've got today. Yep. No,
Yeah.
Go for it, Lawrence.
No, I think Ange will put trust in him now. He can play with his left foot. The balance looks good in defence. And we've not been scoring as much as we should from corners, have we? So I think he definitely is going to be a help there with his height and taking his goal well. I mean, Big Julian used to be good for a goal, didn't he? I think he's like almost 1 in 6, isn't it? A goal every 6 games or something. Obviously, his time's up at Celtic. Hopefully, we can get him moved out and reinvest some money. But yeah, Jens looks as if he could be taking over that goal scoring centre half mantle if he keeps going on the end of crosses like that.
Yeah, there's a few people's disbelief at that. Brian Walsh has come in here to say 2 goals from corners, obviously second rotation from the corner at the weekend, and 2 league games. I honestly can't recall the last time that happened. Yeah, Patrick, it's great to have that threat in the box. You know, as Lawrence touched on there, Julian in his first season at Celtic was a great threat at corners, but that is going to be one of the big questions today. And here it is from Alan Robertson. Does Jens keep his place? Because obviously we know Stephen Welsh missed out because of an illness at the weekend. He scored on the opening day. You've got Jens coming in and he scores. You're not going to drop Cameron Carter-Vickers. Starfelt's back on the bench. Who the hell does Ange Postecoglou play at centre back?
We're very interesting, won't it? Because if Starfelt, Welsh and Jens are all fit and available, who he goes with, I think you probably have to stick with Jens. He played well, he scored. You could say that about Welsh last weekend, but he was out with an illness, so you just need to put that down to bad luck. But I'd stick with Jens. I wouldn't drop a player who's playing well. You've got 2 very able deputies to come in or come on as a sub if Jens either hits a bad patch of form or gets injured. So it's good to have these options, but I would stick with the starting 11 that's playing well at the moment. They've earned their jersey, so I'd let them keep it. But I honestly didn't foresee this as a place that we would be. I didn't think that would seriously be seriously considering Welsh as a starting centre half. But he's played well in pre-season. He played well against Aberdeen. He's making a lot of forward passes, which sometimes Carter-Vickers and Starfelt don't do so well, whereas Welsh is more willing to sort of take those chances. But it's, as you say, it's a fantastic conundrum to have, and it's certainly one I'd prefer to the countdown conundrum because that's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I'm more of a numbers game man in that one, so
Aye,
the letter's terrible. Word numbers game absolutely fine. Lawrence, coming on this, we're getting a lot of comments in, which is great. People are saying, it's his jersey to keep until he gets injured or has a bad performance. Callum Hardy's come in here to say that he believes that the defence is to be judged in Europe. We let in too many last season, and another comment in here coming and saying that the pressure is on both Welsh and Jens scoring. I'll probably have to for this. I'd keep Moritz Jens in there. He's came in. He's probably didn't expect to get the opportunity so early. But Lawrence, just to kind of touch back on this, you made a really good point last week and try to get Carol Starfelt probably kind of fit leading up to that Derby game. Where does the game time come for possibly Carol Starfelt, or is that even a question that we might be asking in 2 or 3 weeks' time if Moritz Jens slips in there and does his business?
Well, that's the thing. If Jens keeps, he'll sharpen up a bit, because I think he was a wee bit slack in the box a couple of times, players running off him. I think he'll sharpen up. Already that rustiness. We know Ange is on record saying he doesn't like to change the defence too often. It's the forward players he likes to rotate. So if he comes in and does well, I don't think Ange is going to be saying, I'm going to try and show on some game time in for Carol Starfelt. Because if Jens is doing the business, why would you change it? I think when you look at him on the ball, just being left-footed, it's just a better balance. The ball moves out quicker from him as well. I know it's only kind of 1 game, 1 goal, but he looks as if he's going to be a threat in the opposition box, which is certainly something we've been missing, And what would the odds been at the start of the season? 2 games in, 2 goals for corners. Pretty long odds. So if he can keep this up, So I think he keeps it, and I don't think it's a matter of getting Starfelt game time. Welsh has got to be sitting there as well, going, whenever he's fit again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just unfortunate for him with that illness, because he'd have probably kept his place, wouldn't he have?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's been a couple of clubs in for him. I don't know. I'd said maybe if it could get another centre half on a loan, put Welsh out for a season-long loan, like Aya. Get him a lot of football, because he really needs football at this age, Welsh, if we're going to develop him for the future. Then I don't think... he came in, he done well against Aberdeen, and then he was unfortunate with illness. It looked like, he'd done enough to keep his place, and he'd maybe get a run. With Jens coming in and scoring and doing well, and him being ill, Starfelt coming back to fitness. If you're 3 games down, say Starfelt, or Jens gets injured, who do you then bring in? Starfelt or Welsh? It'll be interesting. But yeah, Jens and Cameron Carter-Vickers just now, Taylor and Juranovic don't tinker too much with the defence, and I think that's the way Ange will play it.
Okay, I think that's a fair point. Patrick, David's come in here in the comments to say that he believes that Carl Starfelt plays as soon as he's fully fit. Obviously back on the bench at the weekend, didn't feature at all in pre-season for Celtic. What is your thoughts on that? Because, just as I touched on with Lawrence there, he made that point last week, but if you've got, a competition between Yanks and Welsh, both have scored headers in the first two games, but where does Carl Starfelt come into this conversation, or does the manager just go back to the tried and tested partnership that benefited Celtic so well last season? It's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Yen should keep his place as long as he's fit and on form. After that, I think you probably do have to go with Starfelt if he is fully fit. I don't know about dropping Jens after only 2 games for Starfelt, just because he was the man last season.
Also, people will say a plastic pitch right away,
Aye, not ideal. I'd certainly stick with Jens for this weekend, definitely. I'm not sure. I mean, as we keep on saying, it's a great problem to have. I personally think for as long as he's playing well and he's fully fit, I think you stick with Jens because he's the one with the jersey, and I think it really is as simple as that. You can worry about who replaces him if and when he hits a bad patch of form or gets injured. I think Starfelt's first off the bench for that. Then it's definitely Welsh. But as I keep saying, it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, it is a great problem to have. Other people have come in the comments here to say, do we actually have 4 good centre backs? This is very un-Celtic. And Kevin Graham's given me a really good point here, saying that Starfelt is playing catch up. Obviously been out since June after his injury away with Sweden. Welsh and Jensen in front of him based solely on match fitness. I'd absolutely agree with that. It's a shame for Carl Starfelt in that position, but listen, he'll be working hard in training, and it's good that you've got players in there pushing each other. Lawrence, which is important about the squad, and as you've already touched on with Chris Julian, he wasn't even featured on the bench, which I think says everything that Starfelt is coming in after just returning from injury. Julian's into pre-season, but listen, he's favoured over him, so I think that basically says everything on that. To touch away from the centre backs, to go just a wee position behind them, there's a big, huge save in this game on Saturday from Joe Hart, and we heard all this stuff a year ago about he's poor in his left side and blah blah blah. It's a cracking save, and listen, if Ross County go 2-1 up, maybe you're not struggling, but it's hard to go back and get the victory. It's a great save late on in the game, isn't it?
Yeah, he's just shown every inch of his class, isn't he? We know what we've got. We're really lucky to have somebody, of his ability that came here solely because he wanted to play football. He didn't come here for the wages, taking a big cut. So Joe Hart just shown what a top keeper he is. It's a bit worrying. County did get a few chances from headers. It's probably something that we work on. We knew County were going to be strong from corners, but I suppose Ange said it. We created more than enough chances to win the game, and it could have been more than 3 that we scored. But Big Joe's he's far and away our best keeper, isn't he? And he's just showing absolute class, and we need him at times like that. Hopefully, he's pulling out some saves like that in Europe and keeping clean sheets. Yeah,
absolutely. I think a lot of people are saying, make your judgment on this defence and goalkeeper when we get into European football, which is, I think, is a fair, point to make. And even, other folk are saying here, Jason's coming in the comments, says after we play Hearts and United in the Derby game, we'll know a lot more about who the best centre-back pairing will be. But listen, it's game by game. Ange Postecoglou, I don't think, is a set starting 11. He will rotate based on whoever he thinks is the best 11 to defeat the opposition. And that's how we go forward. But Patrick, even just kind of on Joe Hart and a kind of wider conversation, we've had Siegrist come into the club. It's added a bit of depth in that position, and we'll probably come back to Greg Taylor, but obviously Bernaby's came in there too. It's benefited them as well as the centre halves that there is competition in that team now. Now listen, I don't think if Joe Hart had a stinker, he'd probably be dropped right away for Ben Siegrist, but it is important that you've got depth in the position and somebody behind you that's pushing you.
Yeah, definitely. He sort of came out the team in late December, Joe Hart, and we didn't really know why. I think it was a hand injury or something like that. I don't know, something to do with his hands or his fingers or whatever. And you had Barkas come in, and you're just never going to really have confidence in that guy, are you? He could turn into the best keeper in the world, and Celtic fans probably still wouldn't have confidence in him because, the season he had last season was just unbelievable. And, he didn't have any help in front of him. He had a constantly changing back three, Shane Duffy included. But it's important that you can have someone in there who's reliable, who you can have confidence in. And I think that's half the battle as well. I think if your centre-halves have confidence in the goalkeeper, I think that was why Hart was such a good signing, because our centre-halves at the beginning of last season could have such confidence, a lot of confidence in Joe Hart making the saves. And I don't think Seacrest is a better keeper than Hart, but I think it's important to have a very good and competent backup. And he's certainly proved at Dundee United that he's capable of making the step up, because I think, as we pointed out a week or two ago, he signed for Dundee United when they were in the Championship. Mm-hmm. And then he came up to the Premiership last season and had a brilliant season, made a couple of wonder saves against us, and then signed for us. So he's on a bit of a journey himself in his career, but I think it's good to have these options, and it's there were periods in last season where we didn't have any options in some positions, and now we seem to have 2 or 3 in every position, which is it's a fantastic place to be in.
Yeah, it is a fantastic place to be in. Lawrence, I want to come back to this point from Alan Robertson in the comments, usual Tuesday contributor, who's asking the question. He's playing devil's advocate here. I'll just read it out. Does Abada benefit from being a sub as an impact player? If we start Abada and it doesn't happen for him, does it make Maeda a more important first team player and Abada coming off the bench? And other people are saying that, this comment in here from Swindle saying Abada's goals and assists are undeniable, but he's very quiet out with that. Maeda offers something more crucial to the system, to the manager, the entire game. Good problem to have. Both sides of the coin there. What is your thoughts on that one?
I think 5 out of your front 6 are probably going to change during the game. If you're coming off the bench, you're probably coming off to play against a tired defence, especially Maeda's been chasing them down all game, or they've been up against Jota and Jota's moved over to the left. So I bet you Abada's glad he's come on fresh and facing a tired fullback. He'd probably rather be starting, but he seems happy enough. He's not running to press or anything, even though his numbers are great and he could well justify a start. But I think this is part of Ange's system, isn't it? It's a team game, a squad game. He knows he's going to pressure up, the attacking players during the game. So, yeah, for Abada to come on against a tired defence, it's definitely a bonus for him. Could he start and maybe have a similar impact? Probably. It's just, it is cracking to have these options. It just shows you kind of the turnaround that Ange's done inside 12 months of the squad that he taken over to where we are now. Leigh Abada's numbers are absolutely frightening. There's some wingers in the league, people are talking, 14, 20 million quid, whatever. But they don't come anywhere near Abada's numbers. And it's, if he keeps this up, he is going to be a £20 million player.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that. And listen, at the start, a long time to go in his development. He is only 20. He's only going to get better with more games, more goals, more assists. And listen, by the time he maybe decides to depart from Celtic, he could have quite frightening numbers overall. Patrick, what's your take on this? That kind of both sides of the argument there. Abada coming on, maybe being better as an impact player. It suits something against a tired defence. But, I think last season he probably proved that he could do it from the start and coming off the bench. If you think back to that late goal against Dundee United and whatnot, going through the whole game with that, I think as a player at his stage of development, he's proved that he can be either or. And I think we've probably seen little of Maeda coming off the bench because he started so many games for Celtic, but he is very crucial to the system that Ange Postecoglou wants to play.
Yeah, it's a testament to how good a player he is at his age that Abada can do both of those things. I'm just thinking back, at the beginning of last season, you had the Alkmaar game where he tees it up on a plate for Kyogo 2 minutes in, and then Ferencváros away, he tees it up for Kyogo 2 minutes in as well. Oh, yeah. Aye, he does, doesn't he? Ferencváros away 2 minutes in. So he's good at that, straight from kick-off, 2 minutes in, he's pressing, he's winning the ball, and he's setting up goals for his teammates. Similarly, I think he comes on, I want to say it's either St Johnstone or Ross County, I can't remember now. We won 6-0 in May, and I think he comes on and he scores the last goal. He just sort of runs in and takes it off the
Is
foot of
this
someone.
the 7-0 game against St Johnstone?
7-0. Sorry, I thought it
7-0.
was 6.
7.
He comes on and scores either, the second last or the last goal. I think he steals it off Maeda's foot or something. But he can definitely do both, and you've seen that against County. He comes on, scores a goal, makes a real impact, and as Lawrence said, he's not one to complain. I don't think anyone in the squad is actually. They're such a tight knit squad, and and as Ange says, they've got to have the right mentality to play for his Celtic team, and they all do have the right mentality. They're all playing for each other. They're all playing for the club, and it's great to see because you can really see the effort and the teamwork and the determination. Because when you've got really good players and you've got a really good attitude, it's hard to go wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. To kind of conclude our thoughts on the game on Saturday, Lawrence, the third goal, it's Yakimakis and Taylor pressing really high up the park. Again, something you wouldn't have seen from Greg Taylor before Ange Postecoglou arrived at the club. They win with the ball back, and it's a world-class finish, you could probably say, from Leigh Abada in the turn. Places it right into that corner, and it just, sums up a really good performance. And, I think Celtic deserved those types of goals at the end of the game.
Yeah, 3 goals didn't flatter us, but the finish is absolutely outstanding, isn't it? And Greg Taylor, another player Ange's developing. I know Jared told us when he came on from Celtic Down Under, saying, look, Ange's got the track record of developing players. Look what he's done to Taylor's game. It's just outstanding, isn't it? I know we've got a new Argentinian boy. I just can't see when he's going to get in if Greg Taylor keeps up this form. I think he's going to be sitting on the bench for a long time if Greg keeps playing like this. Maybe it'll be take a tackle, like some of the ones we've already seen before he gets his chance. But yeah, Taylor's been brilliant, and Liel Abada, it's just absolutely outstanding. It's just a special goal, isn't it?
A really special goal. Patrick, Greg Taylor, I think probably everything could be said and written about him just now. He's been absolutely sensational in his first 2 games. I had a wee look at his stats yesterday. He's got a great pass percentage at 84%. He takes the ball, he creates chances. He's good at breaking up play. He likes to get forward. I always like to see the loss in the half space and Twitter stuff after the games. And you see him making that overlap run as well as it's happening on the inside. He's doing it on the outside. And it is, happening on the inside. I think that's just everything about Ange Postecoglou's system. And it's probably why Ange said the other week other teams don't take notice of the way we play football, because when you've got teams doing that, it's very, very hard to cope with.
Yeah, and he's playing so well in Ange's system, as you say. He's pressing up the park for 2 of the goals. He almost, because of a poor tackle and poor refereeing, he almost gets a broken leg. But he's pressing high up for 2 of the goals. He's obviously playing that inverted full-back role. He's coming into the middle of the park and he's playing balls forward. And he's picking out really good passes actually to pick out forward players. He's defensively sound. He's quite quick actually when he wants to be, and he's a great. I'm sure he's got a couple of assists to his name. His cutbacks are pretty good. He gets to the byline. He links up pretty well with Maeda. He's developed into a fantastic player. And it's probably not something that I seen coming actually. About a year ago. As I said, we all sort of said it last season. It's the one position where you definitely look at and think that's where we can definitely improve. But to his credit, he's improved so much where you're thinking, that this £3 million Argentinian left back that we've signed probably can't get in the team because Taylor's improved that much. Just sort of thinking short term, going to Kilmarnock Rugby Park. I mean, he'll know that pitch. He'll be the one player who's comfortable in that plastic surface.
There for 3 years, his old club.
And it'll be interesting to see how David McInnes has them playing. I'm sure it'll be different to Steve Clarke. It'll be more like the Aberdeen team of 5 years ago. But I'm sure Greg Taylor will be able to cope pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's coming in with a lot of praise for Greg Taylor. John Duncan coming in to say, that he thinks he's been the best player so far for Celtic this season, which I think is a fair comment. And again, I think it was really the epitome. Somebody was coming in there saying that he is a total workhorse. When he's up the park later in the game, pressing with Yakimakis to help Abada get his goal. I think that basically says everything about Greg Taylor's performance. Just on that position of left back, Lawrence, I've got a question in here asking, when do you think Bernabei gets game time? Listen, Bernabei will get his chance in this Celtic team. There's no doubt about that. I think every player knows that. But at this point in time, definitely not changing a winning formula. The chance will come. And I think probably one of the issues for Alexandro at this point in time is just getting suited to the system. He probably hasn't played that inverted role as of yet. And it's something that's going to be important, I think, for Celtic to develop this season. If you look at the way Bodo Glimt came to Celtic Park, they were almost playing that 2-3 kind of 5 in front of us. I think that's something we probably will see more and more, getting those full-backs into the middle of the park, overlapping, creating more space and a complete overload in there.
Yeah, look, as you said, he's going to get game time, but Ange's on record, doesn't like to tinker about the defence. He likes to just get that settled. It's about being ready to take it, doing his work and training, pressing the manager, and when he gets his chance, just being ready to take it. But for me, Taylor's one of the first names in the team sheet just now. It's just unfortunate he's ahead of him. You can look at over the other side, and it's the same way Juranovic and Ralston, isn't it? Tony Ralston must be saying, what do I have to do to try and get ahead of Juranovic? So it's great that 12 months in, we're looking across that back four, and we've got real competition for places. Players that we're saying, they're decent. They'll do the job for us. And as opposed to getting players on loan for the Premiership we didn't own, or players for AC Milan, and you didn't know what you were getting. Boy for Everton, that he looked as if he chucked it. We lost the ball and he just stopped running. He didn't get back into position. These boys are playing Ange's system. They don't stop. They know where they need to be every minute of that game. They know what's expected of them. So Ange's obviously communicating that to them, and the boys are delivering for him. So Bernabei, he'll get his chance at some point this season, and it'll be up to him to show us what he can do then. But till then, it's Greg Taylor's jersey, isn't it? And if he keeps putting in these performances, he's not going to lose it in form. It would take something like one of these tackles we've seen already, and we're only 2 games in.
Yeah, absolutely. The chase is on in that position of left back. Just to mention this, A State of Mind do have an event on this Friday for Dunfermline at the famous PJ Malloy's, and Nottingham Band Chase are the headliners. They came up, they did a session in A State of Mind studios, and little did we know how much of a shared state of mind they had.
Oh yeah, the Celtic link of us, it's I say my dad's side of the family is from up here, from Bonnybridge, that way. Typical Catholics, I support Celtic. Yeah, then my dad's from my dad was born in Nottingham. He's still there, so obviously that Celtic thing is passed down to him, and it's passed down to me and you, innit? That's it. No, you have no choice. That's it. It runs through your veins, doesn't it? So yeah, that's pretty much where that comes from, really. This next one's for Postecoglou. It's called "I'm the Man."
So there you go. If you are in the area or you fancy getting through, please do come along. All the details are on Twitter. I think Paul Jones put it up on his Twitter, so if you are interested in the event, just check that one out on Twitter. But listen, always good to have that shared state of mind, gentlemen. It's always good that we're all Tims, and that should probably be a cracking night for Dunfermline. I've been in PJ Alloys myself, although it was quite a long time ago. It was when we played Dunfermline like a Monday night or something. In 2011, Izagiri came back from injury. We were playing in a yellow kit, and Gary Hooper or something scored that night. Long time ago. But listen, there's that event there. Check it out if you're in the area or you fancy getting along. Back to kind of what's in the news, probably you could say, for the past couple of days. We'll come to our new transfer link. Probably something that will excite Celtic fans a lot more than Ross Barkley. Lawrence, Celtic have been linked with Alec Calado from Barcelona, as I touched on at the top of the show. Olympiacos, Celtic are being mentioned as one of the teams, as well as 2 La Liga sides. He's a youth squad player. He would like to play European competition this season, but he is still attracted to La Liga, and it would be a loan move. What's your take on this?
I think that's what we're in the market for just now. Loans with options to buy, isn't it? We've spent quite a bit of money. We've still got some high wage earners at the club that we need to get moved. Julian Ayeti need to move out. Attacking midfielder or winger just gives us options. I don't really know much about the boy. Obviously, news broke just before this came on, so I've not even looked up his YouTube highlights yet. But listen, Ange has been pretty decent in the transfer market so far. You've got to think if Ange has identified him as someone that will fit his system and benefit the squad, let's hope we bring him in. Yeah, I think that's where we are. It's going to be loans with options to buy unless we sell or move out of Yeti or Julian.
Patrick, what's your take on this one? Because I do expect any more business from Celtic lately to be loan deals. I think there's probably been a set budget in there, whether people agree with that or disagree with it. There's been a set budget. The manager's chosen to go out and spend £12 million on two trusted players that were so important for us last season. They're proving how important they can be this year. And I probably expect any business left to do is going to be a loan deal. And we were linked with Hasbanakovic, I think is the pronunciation, the Montenegrin boy from Rubin Kazan, so probably it is going to be an attacking player we're likely to see come in the end of this window.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Calado is Barcelona are definitely in a rush to free up wages, so where you stand with them. If the player's happy to come to us, then we'll probably just need to cover his wages and that'll be it. The other thing is, he's 23. If he was to come on loan to us, he'd be 24 next summer. They're going to be another year into the sort of Xavi project. They're hopefully going to have guys like Lewandowski and guys like that playing up top for them.
They hope.
They definitely hope. It's proven a bit of a battle just now.
I think if they probably could, they'd be selling the keys to the city at this point in time to get them registered.
Well, they're attempting quite a lot of things to get that registration through, I think. But they're going to have a they're going to have a very powerful attacking lineup in 12 months' time if all things go their way. So where a 24-year-old Calado fits into that, I don't know. So he himself has probably been realistic in thinking, well, where am I going to be in a year's time, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time? And Celtic could be an option for him. Obviously we need to see if Ange wants him, if the club want him. But I think, from Barcelona's end, I don't think there'd be any problem. I think if we're willing to cover the wages, then I think it'd be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, interesting one, Lawrence. I think it's kind of good that Edward Michu and people like this that we're getting our name is in the mix for these conversations. Even though Ange Postecoglou batted down any speculation for Michu, it's probably, you could say, refreshing that we're involved in these conversations with players of this kind of standard in European football once again.
Yeah, definitely. I think Ange will, like any manager, anyone that improves the squad, isn't it? He's going to have an eye out there. But we're in a good place, and it's up to Ange to see where he thinks could add value. I think we could do with another striker in, but I don't think we're going to get one as long as Ayeti's there. So maybe move him out, bring a striker in. But yeah, he's playing for Barcelona. You'd expect to sign by Barcelona if not playing with him. You'd expect him to be of a decent standard. As I said, I've not seen him, but I'll get on YouTube after this and have a look at him. See what he's like. Who knows? It might be here before the weekend.
Well, there is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, just going by reports in Spain, between his representatives in the club to basically decide his future. But just remember, Lawrence, YouTube clips can be very deceiving. I think I watched one in Diego Laxalt before he rocked up to Celtic and Albion Ayeti and thought they were going to be top class, and look how that ended up. So listen, YouTube's not always a be all and end all, but that's all we can do. We can have a look at them. But again, I'm sure that Ange Postecoglou's did a lot of homework on this. His scouting department seems to have ramped up in recent years. Obviously, Patrick, remember, we were all having those conversations with whether the gaps had been filled even since Brendan Rodgers had left to go to Leicester, whether everything, every department had been taken care of. But listen, it looks at this point in time as if we've got to move on. We're playing players from Argentina. We've got a scout there, our scouts, plural, and we're acting like a big football club that I think we all expect Celtic to be. So listen, it could just be speculation. We're getting to that point. It's I think 3 weeks tomorrow, the window shuts, so there'll be plenty of speculation coming round and whatnot, and we'll just see what happens. One player we know who, former Celtic striker Leigh Griffiths, is headed down under to the western coast of Australia. Very nice part of the world to play football, Patrick, but he's only going to play 2 games. We won't hammer the point on Leigh Griffiths because probably Celtic fans are bored of his speaking about him, but he's over there. He's probably putting himself in the shop window, which is certainly what Jared from Boys Down Under had told us. Getting over there, playing some game times, maybe looking for a move to the A-League eventually.
Yeah, that's probably his thinking. It's a hell of a risk going over to Australia to play 2 games. I mean, that's even with money.
It's always a nice holiday if you don't.
Aye. It's got a lovely greyhound track as well, Mandura. So I'm sure we'll find. But aye, I mean, I don't even know if I should say good luck to him. Celtic gave him so many chances and he sort of wasted all of them, didn't he? Good play in his day. I loved him when he was on form 5-6 years ago. But it's really sad what he's done to his career, really, because he was a very gifted natural striker, and when I think it was a relegated Falkirk didn't want him. I think they're struggling in League One, and even they wouldn't take him. So I think Forfar knocked him back as well, who in League Two. It's incredible. But good luck to him in Australia. I'm sure he sees it as a new chapter, and hopefully that's what it can be for him.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see what happens. Mandura is obviously the place he's away to, which one of our commenters came in and said, listen, thank you for watching at this time, whatever time of the day it is over it and all. But he said that's where he lives, and it's a semi-pro pub league. So interesting one to see how that gets on and how that develops. 2 games is not a lot, but listen, I'm sure it's a nice place in the world to be playing football. And to come back to other movement, Lawrence, not on the player front, John Kennedy, yesterday, reports came out, linking the Celtic number 2 to Midfield. Gary Oliver's came in here to ask, is John Kennedy off? What's your thoughts around this? Because listen, he's been there a long time. We know John's been there under, I think 4 different managers now. Came in at first under Ronnie Dyla to work alongside him and John Collins. He was then retained under Brendan Rodgers, and then Neil Lennon appointed him, or Celtic appointed him as his number 2, and Ange Postecoglou's retained that too. At the age of 38, should he maybe be looking at being an assistant manager in the Champions League first before he looks towards Danish football?
I don't know. I think it'd be a cracking opportunity for John Kennedy. Go out. He's been linked with a few jobs. He's stayed with Celtic. Obviously when everyone else left with Brendan, John stayed. He's got a bit of abuse last season. I think at one point he was described as a defensive coach at one of his jobs at Celtic.
Which he's not.
Yeah, he's not anymore. But I think it was at Celtic View. He was actually quoted as a defensive coach. But Ange just kept him on, and seems more than happy with him. Would it be a loss for us? Yeah, could we handle the loss under Ange? I've no doubt we would handle it. It'd be interesting to see who Ange would bring in. Then would he bring someone else in? Would he promote from within? But yeah, if Kennedy goes, all the best to him. There's no denying that he's been here a long time, and over the course of time, he's definitely been a good servant for the club. Unfortunately, his injury in his own career, but I think maybe he's got ambitions to be a manager in his own right, and I think this is probably a cracking opportunity for him to go out and try that. Maybe away from the Celtic Rangers stuff and the kind of intense pressure to be under in Scotland. It might be a wee bit easier to go over and do it there for his first job.
Yeah, that's interesting. John Duncan's come in to say that he hopes that John Kennedy goes out, proves everyone wrong, and he hopes that one day will come back as a top manager for Celtic. I don't doubt that might be his ambition one day, Patty. Obviously, he was handed the reins towards the end of the COVID season. It didn't go too well. I think you could have probably stuck Sir Alex Ferguson or in there, and it probably wouldn't have went well anyway. I find this an interesting one because we've spoken about Midtjylland before. We know what they're like as a football club, but we know the way that they do business, much like that Brentford model of working in football. We've heard all the plaudits about John Kennedy as a top coach. At the age of 38, do you think it might just be too soon for him maybe to go into management of a team like this and just stick to where he is just now? Because I say that in terms of he's yet to be an assistant manager in the Champions League. It's a great opportunity, and I'm sure he's still learning under Ange Postecoglou like he's done under the previous 3 managers he's worked under.
I don't think it's too early at all. He's only 38, but as you say, he's had 8 years as a high-ranking member of that first-team coaching staff. I mean, he's been assistant manager since, February 2019. So he's got a wealth of experience. He's worked under guys like Ronnie Dyler, Brendan Rodgers, Neil Lennon, Postecoglou. I mean, 4 attacking managers, 4 very different managers. Different philosophies, different approaches to the game. So he's got a range of experience, and as far as 38-year-olds go, he's probably got more experience than most. I think from a John Kennedy point of view, I think if you're offered the job, I think you should take it. From a Celtic point of view, I hope he doesn't leave. But from a John Kennedy point of view, if he wants to be the Celtic manager one day, I think he's got to leave and come back, because I don't think we're going to appoint an assistant as the full-time manager. I really can't see that happening. And as you say, similar to Brentford, they've got the same owner, that Matthew Benham, Midtjylland. He bought them first as a sort of tester before buying Brentford, and they're very much running the same way. And as we seen last season, they're not. I know they put us out, but they're not really of the Celtic standard. Normally, Celtic were poor against them last season, so they're a level below us, but they're actually quite decent. They're a decent side, and they gave us a game over, 210 minutes. So I think from a John Kennedy point of view, if he's offered the job, I think he should take it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. They're playing tonight. They're playing Benfica tonight. They're 4-1 down in aggregate, so likely crashing out the Champions League. But listen, there'll be an opportunity there in another European football this season. Other people's come in to say that maybe John Kennedy doesn't want to be a manager, prefers being a coach. That is potential. We've seen other coaches go into management and return back to being a coach. I certainly think, Lawrence, it would be a loss to Celtic if we do lose him. Listen, I don't doubt that Ange Postecoglou would probably either carry Cooley's number 2 or whatever else, but I think his experience in there, everything we've heard, from a guy like Damien Duff describing John as a world-class coach, he obviously has a great track record in terms of honours, everything he's been through at the club, and I'm sure he's an integral part inside that dressing room under Ange.
Listen, it would be sad to see him go, but if he wants to be a manager, it's down to John. If he wants to be a manager, I think this is an absolute cracking opportunity for him. And yeah, a lot of people, if they don't grasp the opportunities, it passes them by. They're too late. So he's got to be thinking. I think he needs to take the step soon to go out there. He's got 8 years' experience, as Patrick said. That should be more than enough to step out as a manager in your own right. I mean, was it 10 games he was in charge of the team in the COVID season? So, yeah, and I think he'd be able to handle the step up and shows what he can do as a manager. And listen, the early commentator was right. It'd be great for him to go out and learn his trade there, and then when it does come time for a change, maybe for him to come back as manager if he's proven he can do it elsewhere.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm sure if he's considering it at all, they'll be paying close attention to their match tonight against Benfica in the qualifying of the Champions League. Some good news for a change, Patrick, in terms of tickets. Ross County have changed tack on the allocation for Celtic. It was announced just a couple of hours ago that Celtic are going to be getting the whole of the north and the east stand. Ross County described that due to a poor uptake. I think that's quite refreshing. They're saying they're doing this as a trial to see how it goes, and I think from their perspective as a club that didn't have the benefit of pay-per-view showing for a start of the weekend and for extra revenue, it makes a lot of sense to Ross County. Yeah,
it makes sense to everyone. If they're more than the League Cup games are a sort of bonus, and again, if they've got Celtic, they're being realistic and thinking, well, that's our one and only cup game this season. Well, for the League Cup anyway. So they're wanting to maximise revenue. They'll probably want it at Celtic Park so that it was split 50-50. But they need to make as much money as they can from these games. To have it at home, to have it as your only cup game in this competition, you're as well selling out as many tickets as you can. I'm of the opinion that you should do it in league games as well. Leave yourself with a home advantage.
Livingston benefit from it.
Even not even going as far as Livingston. Leave yourself a home advantage. I think most teams sell out at least 50% of the ground. But restricting Celtic to 5 or 10% when half your stadium's empty, again, it makes no sense to me, especially when fans are constantly complaining about the massive difference in resources and finances. It's good to see from Ross County. It'll benefit them financially, no doubt, and hopefully, Celtic fans going up can enjoy it, because I think it's a Wednesday night, that game, isn't it?
Yep,
So
Wednesday night.
a trip to Dingwall on a Wednesday night, that causes havoc midweek for some people, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a half day off work and then feeling ill the next morning. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt and whatnot. But Lawrence, in terms of, it probably is a no-brainer. Alan Morrison put into the group chat that we were all in earlier today that Saturday was the lowest attendance against Celtic in the last 7 seasons, apart from the COVID season apart. Just to kind of give you an idea, it's always been around that kind of 6,000 odd mark, and on Saturday it was 5,500. You would think that probably a 3 p.m. kickoff would have suited a lot more people better, but from some of the comments I read under the Ross County tweet, it was a nightmare to buy tickets. One, I don't think there was any pay at the gate type tickets, which maybe some people prefer to do. So I think probably from Ross County's perspective, it's how they also treat their fans on this. They need to make it as accommodating as possible for them. I know they put out a statement trying to warn Celtic fans that are away from the game, but it makes real good financial sense for them to do this for this League Cup game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, last season they were able to sell the rights to view the game. Obviously, that's stopped now. Clubs were selling their own stream, so that was an income stream coming in for them that they're now going to have to replace. And if and it is selling tickets. Is it 2025 year in this TV deal? It'll be interesting to see what happens after then, because I don't think it particularly suits Scottish football that well. The clubs are going to have some data now that they could say, well, actually, what would we get in our own stream? But yeah, it's sensible getting more people into the grounds, isn't it, to watch football? It's been said many times, without fans, football's nothing. So get as many people into the grounds as possible. Hopefully more clubs, will follow the lead. But, it's their choice. You've seen a couple of clubs come out and say, oh, no, our fans don't want us to do that. But, yeah, I can only hope that more clubs follow Ross County's leads. It seems a sensible decision.
Just reading the comments here, just like to wish Frank, one of our regular contributors, a very happy birthday from everyone here at Axom. Don't want to get a hard time from some of the usual commenters, so I was to wish him a happy birthday. Happy birthday from us all. Hopefully we get a result on Sunday against Killie. Just to kind of wrap up here, in terms of the McCarthy speculation, I read something really interesting the other day, that one of the UEFA rules for the 25-man squad is you need 4 homegrown players. We've got that, and people like, Stephen Welsh, Carl McGregor, James Forrest and whatnot, and you need 4 association players. So that will be guys like Siegrist, and Taylor. Trying to think here, somebody will correct me if you can think. Tell me, Taylor,
Turnbull.
Turnbull's another one, right? But McCarthy's one of these ones, because obviously Ralston's one of the homegrown ones. But in terms of this, I think if Johnson's obviously counting as one of the Celtic ones that's coming through, but one of the association players is McCarthy, and if Celtic do choose to let him go, it's very likely you're going to need to leave a spot empty in the 25-man squad for the Champions League. Do you think that could possibly be something that's, that Ange Postecoglou's thinking about? I think he said the other day that any move away for James McCarthy wasn't on his radar, and that it was an important part of the Celtic squad.
So if we sell McCarthy and don't bring in someone else from the SPFL, you'd have to leave the space blank. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's correct, yeah.
Right. I suppose it depends, it's weighing up the pros and cons, Are you willing to pay? I mean, how much is James McCarthy going to play in those 6 Champions League games? And you've got to weigh that up with how much money are we spending on James McCarthy, keeping him at the club. If Ange sees a place for him in his squad, to come on the last 15, 20 minutes, calm the game down, keep the ball safe and stuff, then, fair enough, keep him around. But if you're looking at trying to get rid of him, and the only block to that is having one guy less in your squad for the Champions League, I'm not sure that's a reason to keep him around, because how much is he actually going to play in those Champions League games? And at the end of the day, you're not really a man down, you're just a James McCarthy down, if that makes sense, because he's the only person that you can play, if you get what I'm saying. I mean, if Ange's happy to keep him around, then, let's roll with that. But it's, I can't see signing anyone else from the SPFL, so I can see him sticking around, if I'm being honest.
I don't
Yeah, it's
think he
an
wants to go
interesting-
anywhere. You've got to factor that in. I don't think James wants to go anywhere. I think, James wants to stay at Celtic. So unless the players of a mind that, would agree to leave, he's under contract and I think he's going to stay.
Yeah, he's under a long-term contract as well. And obviously, I think a lot of people right away have just linked him with Sunderland just due to that link with Alec Neely's old Hamilton boss. But yeah, it's an interesting one in terms of the squad. I think that's a good point that Patrick makes there on that. And it's basically, it's up to probably Ange Postecoglou. And this one, we'll see how that goes. As I say, it's 3 weeks or so till the window closes. Just lastly, Lawrence, I know you always like to get a mention on this. Great victory for the Celtic women at the weekend, 9-0, and a nice bit of history as well. The great Patsy Gallagher's great granddaughter went in, I think she scored a hat-trick, and Mark Burchell's daughter also got an assist in the day. So a wee bit of kind of Celtic history put into that 9-0 victory for the ladies to kick off their season.
Yeah, cracking result for them. Apparently, Jacinta was in sparkling form as well.
Another hat-trick, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, it was at Excelsior. I'm not too sure when Celtic are going to link this into the season book and maybe throw those games in or do something. I think Fergus would have. But yeah, it's great to see the girls doing well. Before we go, I'd just like to thank Owen McElvey for taking us along to see Pete Doherty last night in Edinburgh, who turns out is another guy with a Celtic state of mind. Who knew? Pete and his manager, big Celtic fans. And I was out at Kev Graham's birthday party at the weekend, and a few people that always watches are V for Peterhead. Apparently, she waits for her husband coming in, turns this on as soon as he sits down and gives him a cup of tea and sit and watches Axel with him. So to Ali and V for Peterhead, hello.
There you go. Very nice. Always nice to hear that. I'm quite chuffed that Pete Doherty's a Tim as well. Don't Look Back into the Sun and whatnot. Great tunes. Thanks to all our usual Tuesday regulars on the comment section. Please, if you've been watching the video, do like, and if you've not already, do subscribe to the channel. I've given you the details about that gig in there on Friday. It's sure to be a cracker through in Dunfermline. Enjoy the game on Sunday and have a good week, everyone. Patrick, Lawrence, thanks for joining me.